You already have it? I do. Then why not put it in the front?
All right. We'll call this meeting to order. If you could rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Just as a procedural thing too, if anybody's got cell phones on, if you just silence those so we don't have some weird ringtones going on. All right, roll call. Ms. Atkinson.
Here.
Mr. Blake. Here. Mrs. Brunner.
Here.
Mr. Conley. Here. Ms. Foster.
Here.
Mr. Hall.
Yeah, I guess so.
Mr. Hopkins, we need to thoughts and prayers with him. He was helping take down the Christmas tree and got smacked in the eye with the Christmas tree. So he's looks like a pirate right now. But believing for a full recovery. Mr. Wallace. Present. Mr. Owens is here.
You want a motion to excuse Mr. Hopkins?
Yes.
I would make that motion.
Support.
Okay.
Second.
So motion supports to excuse Mr. Hopkins. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. And we have with us tonight Mr. Adantini. Mr. Bloom is here as well from the city attorney.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Also, Pete Memori is here from Progressive ID, the traffic consultant. Right?
Good. Thank you.
That's the question.
All right, so our December 1st meeting, you have the minutes for that meeting. We need a motion to approve those, please.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Support. Any discussion or question on those minutes? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. And our agenda for this evening, need a motion to approve that.
So moved.
Support.
Anything in there we need to tweak? Okay, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. All right, we'd like to open the floor for public comments. If you have anything that you would like to address, you can step up here to the podium, and we are all ears. Going once? Going twice? All right. We have a public hearing scheduled for this evening, and Carmen, did you make any of these available to?
Yeah, there's a stack of them over on.
So let me just so everybody knows kind of where we are, because we a couple of months ago we kind of looked at the whole overview of what we needed to do to work on this project for the community building development team and the library and all the things that will be taking place there. And so as you're looking at this, tonight we're going to be in that second box in from the left. We've already done our kind of pre-application workshop, so tonight what we're going to be looking at, for those of you that don't know, that it looks like one piece of land up there, but there is actually several parcels, and one of the kind of glitches that we were running into was that not all of them are zoned the same. There's some there that houses used to be on, so some are residential, and there are all kinds of different things. So, yeah, industrial, just all kinds of hodgepodge. So, to start with, we needed to get everything the same, and so that was part of what we talked about in our kind of our overview. So tonight, this public hearing is going to be to get all of those parcels of land that we have listed there, all to the same zoning, so that way when we're talking about what needs to be done there, it's not different rules for different pieces of land that's in there. So that is the order of business before us tonight. So I need a motion to open the public hearing.
I will make a motion to open a public hearing on the rezoning of the following parcels to B3 Highway Business to PUD Planned Unit Development. And I will not read all the addresses.
Okay. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, so, Valentini, why don't you start off?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Planning Commission members. Should have a letter dated December 23rd.
Okay.
I don't think it's on. Can you hear? Oh, it is. No.
Yeah, you should have a letter dated December 23rd. This is the PUD rezoning review. And I think what's important for everyone to understand is, as you've indicated, Mr. Chairman, there's a couple of different zoning designations for the properties. And we're going to rezone it all to B3, which is a commercial zoning district. And we're going to do an overlay, a planned unit development overlay. And so what we're looking at tonight is that rezoning. And what goes along with the planned unit development rezoning is a preliminary PUD plan, which generally shows the uses and the structures that will be put on the properties, let's call it property or the site, at some point in the future. The next step after this is you would make a recommendation on the rezoning. It would then go to City Council, and the City Council would then potentially approve the rezoning request. And then it would, whenever the CBDT is ready for, or whatever group is involved in it is ready to begin development of one of the phases, and there's no requirement that they have to do one phase or the other first, it's entirely up to them. They would then come before you with a site plan review request, which is similar to other site plan review requests that you look at. So it's a pretty straightforward process. So tonight we've got to get the property zoned for the PUD and the So in the letter, what's discussed is first of all, there's criteria. In order to do a planned unit development, there are criteria in the ordinance, and as you've seen in the letter here, there is an Appendix A in your application that's got a detailed description of detailed description of what's being requested and why the application meets the ordinance requirements. And just to let you know, which you're aware of, the public knows, that I actually drafted the application on behalf of the city for the community building and development team. So actually, for the first two items here, I'm actually reviewing my own application that I put together, but regardless of whether I filled the application out for them or not, I think that it meets the criteria of the ordinance, and you've got a detailed description of why, so you can judge for yourself. But I think for both that and for the preliminary PUD site plan, which actually is more detailed than most preliminary PUD site plans have, so I think they provided all the information you need to make that decision. Item number 3 here, which is a pretty important one, and I know the attorneys have been working with the committee on that. And they actually, the applicants put together a very nice, plan that shows all of the property and the size of them and the zoning and so forth. So this is actually going along with the application as part of the appendix, and is a very useful tool that shows what they're doing and kind of clears everything up. So the ownership, it has to be, according to the ordinance, it has to be under a single common ownership. Now, if the building and development team wants to, and I know that's the discussion, wants to have the library undertake one of the specific projects, then there can be an agreement between them or an agreement with them and the city. But the ordinance just requires that there be control of the overall site, which there will be. The use, I think it's important to note that the library building and the other uses that are proposed for the property are all allowed as special land uses, and they can potentially meet the criteria of the ordinance. So the rezoning that's being requested is appropriate for what they're looking to do. What we've done in here is given you a table showing kind of in advance the dimensional requirements that are outlined in the ordinance. One of the waivers that's known right now, which you discussed at the previous meeting, which was a discussion, but you did take a straw vote on it, was the orientation of the library building. and you agreed to a 3-foot setback. So that is a known waiver at this point in time. There may be other waivers that come along through the process. Those would be identified at the time of final site plan approval, which is what you deal with any other site plan, only they'd be variances instead of waivers. So you get to deal with the waivers instead of the zoning board of appeals. It appears that all the requirements can be met, and any that don't would, once again, be able to request waivers. Parking, it appears that the entire site, we did take a look at the parking that's possible there. It appears there is enough parking on site and in the surrounding on-street parking, which the ordinance allows in the CBD. So there appears to be enough parking to satisfy the future uses. Obviously, when their amphitheater is built in particular, at that point in time, we have to take a little bit closer look at what kind of parking needs are there for that project. But really, until they come in with the site plan, it's kind of hard to predict what that need might be. But in terms of the library and the uses they've shown, there's enough area for parking to be met. Building location, we already discussed that. That was discussed at the November meeting. The boardwalk and amphitheater locations, they are appropriately cited, but at the time of final site plan review, they would have to indicate that the agency approvals and permits have been obtained. I know Jesse mentioned at the November meeting, he mentioned that they were going to be working with, I think, DEQ on the floodplain issue. And so that's something that they would have to get worked out before they come in for their final site plan. And then it is a preliminary review, but also in the letter it indicates the final site plan submission will require review and approval from the other applicable departments, consultants, and agencies. So like other site plans, when the site plan is submitted, you have to have review letters from traffic consultant, the engineer, myself. You have to have, if there's a DEQ letter required, you have that. Anyone else, any department head that has any police, fire, anybody who has any involvement in this would have a review for you to look at when you review each basis for site plan approval. So based on that, this analysis and review of the attachment A, along with the corresponding preliminary PUD plan, we are recommending to you that you recommend to City Council approval of the rezoning request of B3 Highway Commercial / PUD Plan Unit Development conditioned upon the following. Number one, that the property ownership will be under the single control of the Community Building and Development Team, once again not precluding them from working out other arrangements with the library committee or other committees in the future. And number two, waiver to allow a maximum 3-foot front building setback from North Main Street. So if you have any other questions, I'll be happy to answer them. It's pretty straightforward.
Thanks for all your hard work on this, everybody that was involved to get this to today. There's a lot of work done in the background. I think a lot of people don't realize. But Mr. Evantini put a lot of time in this and the city attorney, so thank you.
Yes. I just want a clarification. You have the maximum 3 feet. That's the max is going to be away from the sidewalk, or that's the minimum is going to be away from the sidewalk?
Actually, well, the maximum waiver is 3 feet, so that's the minimum if you look at the setback. So if they want to have 5 feet or 10 feet, they're free to do that.
But they can't.
That's as close as
they
they
can
can get.
right.
No closer than 3 feet.
No closer than 3 feet.
Is that adjustable? Or is that something from back in November? I can't recall.
You know what? When it comes in for site plan, you have the ability to adjust that. That was just the only known one at this point. So if you if they come in and it's 4 feet or 2 feet or whatever, you can work that out within the site plan. Well, the thing is, potentially, I don't know if that's going to be the case. I don't know. But the one plan they're showing, the building, the corner of the library building, touches into the floodplain area. So, and I know they're working on that to be able to pull the floodplain area back and do some other mitigation and so forth. Don't know enough about it at this point in time to say what impact that would have, but potentially DEQ could come back and say, you have to be outside of that. And that would change potentially the dimensions and the orientation, but you really don't know that at this point in time. And And that's why a lot of the waivers are really worked out at the time of final, because those issues are all put to rest, and then you know exactly what you're dealing with.
So in other words, we'd have to wait basically till the site plan came to identify that distance, and then we would have to make adjustments.
Yeah, I mean, really, it is a recommendation in here. It really doesn't have to be in here at this point in time, because you really don't know for certain. They may come back and say, well, we really needed 2 feet instead of 3 feet, and would like that flexibility. So, I mean, there's a reason that we look at waivers at final, because you have all of the reviews, you have all the information, you have all the agency contact, their input into it, and you know exactly what you're dealing with. At this point in time, it's a preliminary plan. It's really intended to be more conceptual, even though they've given a lot of detail.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Just a curiosity question, since there's like all of these different addresses, if we approve this, does it become one address? Or does it still have all of those different addresses?
It's still have the same addresses.
Okay.
They keep their same address, they fall into that zoning area. That's
So
zoning.
where are people gonna send mail to the one?
So is
Just pick an address?
multiple parcels with one address for basically just billing the UPS or delivery?
These are all city-owned properties, so, and they're all vacant, so there's no mail order or anything going to them.
Well, but eventually there will be, right?
Yeah.
I was just curious, I mean, I need to get off on this rabbit trail.
Well, actually, that's a good question, and I don't know the answer to that, and maybe the committee does, the members of the committee. Is there any intent to consolidate all of these parcels at some point in time?
That's up to the library and the community building development team, how they want their mail address. And the post office, like Cliff said, would be the one to assign the addresses for them.
I mean, Mr. Chairman, if this were a private development, we would require that all the parcels be consolidated, because they could sell off a piece. Here it's different because the city owns it, and there's an arrangement between the committee and the city, so it's not going to happen. But that's something to think about, maybe consolidating if it's possible, make it a lot easier in the future.
At a future date, I understand the community building development team has purchased some more properties, and the procedure to add these to the zoning district would be how?
It would be the same as this, what we're going through now. Obviously, we'd have to see that added to the plan itself, and then there just have to be an application to add it to the property. It'd be a relatively quick review because, everything's known. It's become a part of something bigger. But it would have to still be rezoned to match the current here's budget, the underlying zone is different. Thank you.
Any other questions for Carmen? Mr. Bowles, you got anything? Just brief word. Okay.
Good evening, members of the Planning Commission, Mr. Chairman. I'm Cliff Bloom from the City Attorney's Office. I think the township or the city planner's done a good job of laying this out, and I've been very impressed how the parties have worked together to get to this point in time. I think just 3 things in general. Number one, I think, as you know, and the township planners probably discussed this with you in the past, but when it comes to a PUD rezoning such as is presently in front of you, the Planning Commission and the City Council have great discretion. So as long as you go through the standards and feel the standards are met, ultimately the City Council has great authority to approve a project like this if it feels all the standards have been met. The city planner's color chart, I think, is helpful, and I know the Planning Commission understands this, but just, Mr. Chairman, if I can, for the benefit of the audience, the process is a little unusual in that it's a PUD rezoning coupled with a preliminary site plan, and obviously you folks hold the public hearing you make a recommendation, the city council makes the final decision, presumably at its upcoming meeting on the rezoning of the preliminary site plan. If they approve it, however, then the city council's out of it essentially, and when the final site plan comes, either for each phase or several phases at a time, you, the planning commission, make the final decision. So that's a little unusual. It does not go back to the city council the second time. One of the issues that we've discussed quite a bit among city staff in the last day or two of these waivers and so on, and with your permission, Mr. Chairman, I won't bore you with that. If it becomes an issue, I can address the legal requirements of that. Hopefully, it won't be an issue, so I can address that at that time. So, if there are any other questions now or later, I'd be glad to answer them. Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you. All right. So, then we'd like to open up for any public comments. So, if you just want to come to the podium and give us your name and address and share with us what your thoughts are on this. We'd love to hear them. We don't care. Money.
You guys are an easy group.
All right, so, last chance. Okay, so, need a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, support? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Thank you for that. All right, so now, moving to our new business, we will now need a motion to approve the rezoning of that whole list of parcels that we were just looking at to B3, and with the PUD overlay on there as well, making our recommendation to send it to City Council. Need that motion, please. Okay. Is there support for that? Okay. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
All right. So, thoughts you have on this?
We made it.
Is that everybody's good? All right. I like it. It's one of our most painless meetings we've ever had. We don't have the old business. So, we are just on to correspondence. Linda, you have anything for us?
I don't.
Okay. Now, switching hats, just the city manager, the interim city manager role, got any updates for us there?
No, not right now.
Okay. All right, planning commission members? Anything?
Just want to thank everyone for allowing us to get one more step.
Art?
Awesome.
So, officially for your record?
Yes, that's a comment.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. What's wrong?
Yes, I'd like to thank everybody for all the hard work that's been put into this. We're one step closer. This library, or this potential site, has a lot of potential for the growth of the community, and it's not about who's who, it's for the children of the community, let's face it. This library is for them, the amphitheater is for everyone, the playground, anything that may develop there, and this is one great step forward. And it's the community, and that's why I voted it. It's not about me, it's not about the community building development team, it's not about the library. It's what can we do for the community? What can we do for future generations of this community? And we can only look forward, never look back. Thank you all.
Great. Yeah. Lisa? Okay. So, since Perry's not here, it falls to you if you've got any update to give us on the.
This meeting is way too short.
We're trying to set a new record here.
Turned out for you now.
There again, thanks to planning commissioners, the planning commission, Mr. Ementini, Mr. Sluggett and Bloom's office, city staff. We're moving forward, and it's a good day. This is one more step forward, and we have a few more to go. And the next step is the council to approve this, and then the next step will be the planning commissioners here to basically ultimately review that site plan so as they come in and decide what direction to go.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, we couldn't hear over here.
Nobody
Could you
wants-
let us know who made the motion and who seconded it
For the,
for the recommendation on the,
yeah. I think
She made the motion, I think, Mark
Yeah.
seconded.
Yes.
it was vote unanimous?
Yes.
I'm sorry, we can't hear real well over here, thank you.
Yeah.
Were there any, are you going with Carmen's conditions?
Yes, we're just as it was,
Presented.
yes, as presented.
Thank
Thank
you.
you all. Thank everyone. It's a good day. Keep warm. Winter's on its way. See you all Thursday.
Karen, got anything?
Just one thing, there is, I know Thad had mentioned previously at a previous meeting that he was talking with some folks that we're going to be doing a senior housing project over next to, I always forget the name, but it's at the entrance to the school complex there.
Holden Drive.
Yeah. And they've, they're working on plans right now. They've been in contact with them, and talk to Linda. And they're not going to be ready with their site plans for the February meeting, but what they'd like to do is come and just present their project to you, just as an informational type thing, in case you have general questions or the like. But they're going to be coming in for a special land use and site plan review. So just got a set of plans from them. Give them some initial feedback, but it looks like a pretty exciting project coming in, and I think everybody knows they've already done. They took the house down.
Heard any more about the one that's supposed to go out on Stolen Road or White Creek?
All right. Entertain a motion for adjournment? Support?
Second.
All in favor, aye? Aye. All opposed? You didn't want to go for it. You're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.